I've made seven figures a year, but that doesn't mean I'm taking that all home in my pocket. I wish I would have looked at my numbers sooner. I wish I would have invested in proper training or coaching on how to actually look at real numbers.
Today I'm talking with Yvonne Dellos, a serial entrepreneur in medical aesthetics who built 4 separate businesses from the ground up, including a training program, a trademarked emergency kit for providers, and an annual medical conference, then sold every single one of them to her own former students. We talk about the financial literacy gap she witnessed across the industry, the mindset shift that took her income from $100,000 to $800,000 in a single year, and what it actually feels like to let go of not just the business, but the community you spent years pouring yourself into. Hi, Yvonne. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm excited to have you on Behind the Numbers.
Well, thanks for having me, Shannon. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to learn a lot from you today.
Sounds great. Why don't we start off with just letting you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to the world of medical aesthetics?
That was kind of an accident, really. I went to graduate school to do reproductive medicine, how I got my twins, and that was a real struggle getting them here. And so I just had so much compassion for other women going through the same thing. So I really felt like that's where I was going to spend the rest of my career. But ironically, I think life has another way, another plan for us. Oftentimes we don't see ahead of time. And I ended up in aesthetic medicine kind of by accident. And I ended up really, really enjoying it. And I think just anything I do, I really want to get good at it. And so I went all in and started my own clinic after working for a corporate company for about a year and a half. I started my own clinic, not knowing anything about business, not knowing what I was doing. And then that grew organically. I think I was at the right time in this industry when our Botox was leaving mainstream. So it was leaving plastics and derm and was going into mainstream medicine. And I think I hit it just right. And so that grew exponentially, organically. And then I always say when you find a need, turn it into an opportunity to serve and an opportunity to profit. And I had so many providers coming to me and saying, how did you get into this? I want to do what you're doing. So then I ended up starting Medical Aesthetic Art Institute, which is a training program. And that grew. I was in the black from day one in that business. That grew organically as well. That grew actually rather quickly. And then I saw, as I was out training clinics, I saw they didn't have an emergency kit or protocols. So then I created and registered trademarked the aesthetic ER kit, the one and only emergency kit for dermal fillers in the industry. And then I was like, what? I want my own stage. And it really was my Tony Robbins coach that said to me, Yvonne, when are you going to quit speaking on everybody else's stage and start speaking from your own? So I built our MAAI summit. So this will be our 5th medical conference in Park City in September. And then as I kept evolving in this space, I saw that women had a lot of limiting beliefs around themselves and around their ability to generate millions of dollars. And so I started business coaching. And I love to say that I've helped several women, regardless of the credentials behind their name, get to 7+ figures their first year. And I love being a part of that journey. I don't take the credit for that. They did the work. I just gave them different perspectives, right? And different ways of looking at things. And so I've really evolved working with women, and that again evolved into a women's conference and women's retreats and women's coaching, mindset coaching. So it just keeps growing. It's so beautiful. And I've learned so much about business. I went back to school and got a business certificate from Duke University. That's a program that our local university uses. And I just keep learning and growing. But one thing, if I can share this message, is I wish I would have looked at my numbers sooner. I wish I would never have delegated that. I wish I would have invested in proper training or coaching on how to actually look at real numbers, because I can tell you I've made seven figures a year, but that doesn't mean I'm taking that all home in my pocket. And then just to really prepare myself for financial wealth long term. So I've sold all my businesses now. As of April, they're all sold. And so now it's like my next question is, what do I do with this money? Where do I put it to have it grow and create financial wealth long term to take care of myself? Because I plan to live to be 100. So
I love that you're going to live to be 300 because I
yeah,
think we all want to do that as long as I'm healthy, right?
yeah, and looking beautiful.
Yeah, for sure. I love that just evolution of, right, like seeing a need and learning how to fulfill the need, right, that's out
Yeah.
there And I think you're right. Financial literacy, it does not matter whether we're talking business or personal. It is so lacking in our society. And for me, I just see so much emotion embedded in that conversation. And it really comes down to, I believe there's only love or fear. That's the root cause of all emotions. And so it's fear that is driving us to just not talk about it. And it's like, if we really just talked about it, which is why this podcast exists, I just want people to understand that's why my company exists, Fit for Profit, and that when we talk about things, we lessen that fear. And really, there's really nothing to be afraid of when it comes to money. It's just lines on paper, and we can manipulate it. We can have it serve us if we really understand what's happening. So let's pull back a little bit and talk about, in terms of daily operations first, what's working really well right now for your clients? And then are there any situations that you're navigating that helping people keep things running smoothly as well?
Yeah, so I'm in that transition period from having sold, I've sold 4 businesses, 3 just within the last 6 months. And again, that's kind of more organic. I wasn't going to exit for 2 more years. I had a 2-year exit strategy when the twins graduated high school. But when I did my women's conference, and this was the one time I was in the red, I did my women's conference in November, and we were supposed to have it in April, and the venue wasn't built yet. And I went to my event planner and I said, I'm just not feeling good about this. Like nothing is lining up. Everything that could have gone wrong has gone wrong. And at that point, I was only 11,000. I would have only lost 11,000. Let's put it that way. And we had this talk and she's like, no, I think we're going to be fine. Let's just keep pushing forward. Well, we pushed forward and more things went wrong. And I really should listen to my gut. But hindsight now, like Steve Jobs says, you can always connect the dots looking back. It's hard to connect them looking forward. So now sitting where I honestly wouldn't have changed anything, even though I lost $111,000. And I've never done that before. The venue was way too much. I didn't realize I need to come up with a better strategy of really getting women to understand the value of personal growth and development. It's easy for a medical provider to spend $3,000 on a 1 day training. But to get a woman to spend $3,000 on a weekend retreat where it's going to untap blocked emotion, traumas, limiting beliefs, they didn't want to pay the money. So I ended up giving tickets away to get women in the seat because I already had a full agenda planned with people flying in from all over. And there was the most beautiful transformation that happened that weekend that I would do it over and over and over again, knowing that I was losing that kind of money because of what took place in that room. I couldn't have planned it better myself. And I don't know if you believe in the higher source, power, God, life, creator, whatever you believe in, there was something there. The divine really had its hand in that experience. And I left that experience knowing that is where I needed to be. I needed to be helping women see their potential, help them identify limiting beliefs and blocks that are keeping them stuck. And I did not leave there thinking, oh, I'm going to sell all my businesses. No, I still had my 2-year strategy. But ironically, they all just sold. They all just sold. And the first one that sold for the exact amount of the money that I lost. So it was a wash. So I really do believe that's where I'm meant to be. I'm meant to help women find their truth, find who they're meant to be, and help them live that, help them identify their blocks, their fears, their limiting beliefs. And ironically, I wrote the book From Food Stamps to Fortunes. So I grew up very, very poor. I grew up with a poverty mindset. And I've learned that it really doesn't matter the credentials behind your name. Wealth is a mindset. And so once you learn how to think wealthy and you think abundant and you think that our creator gave us this amazing life to have all the experiences we possibly can, why wouldn't you want us to have an abundance of money? And honestly, when I shifted my mindset, I mean, people say to me, Yvonne, you live in a Pollyanna world. I'm like, you better believe I do. And it's so beautiful. And why would I want to live any other way? I have everything I could have ever wanted. I'm happy. My nervous system is calm. It's at peace. I love my life. I wake up with butterflies, literally tears in my eyes that I get to live this experience. And money is a part of it, whether we like it or not. And I had to do a lot of healing around my beliefs and limiting beliefs with money. My parents would steal groceries from the grocery store. The neighbors would give us hand me down clothes. The church would bring us laundry detergent and dish soap and food. Like we'd have that milk, the dry powdered milk that could sit in food storage. I mean, we lived off of that. And I know we weren't the only one. I know majority of Americans live paycheck to paycheck or live in debt, but it doesn't have to be that way. And once you learn how to manipulate, how to alter, tweak, and learn more about money and how it serves us, then we can have more of it. So I'm excited to talk about all of this with you today.
Yeah, for sure. So it's really interesting because I've been doing this, like I said, for 15 years in my own business more than. And for the first 10, we really only talked about systems. And then I saw people who were doing exactly what you're talking about. Like they were getting a lot of wealth through our systems, but then they would make one decision or do one thing, and all of a sudden it was gone. And I just realized there was this underlying subconscious relationship with money that we hadn't talked about yet. So now we also talk about that. So I'm curious from your perspective, if you're willing to share, what was the very first thing that happened for you that you were like, oh, there's got to be a shift here?
Yeah. So ironically, I knew I wanted to have a bigger life and have more. And so I went to a Tony Robbins event, and my husband's like, I'll go with you, but like, we're not buying anything. Cause once you get there, they just want to sell you more. Right. So I went, I paid for it for us to go. And I said, I'm going to do all of his programs. He's like, we don't have this kind of money. I said, but this is how you get the kind of money. And I just continued Fiji. I could see myself on Tony's private island in Fiji. I'm like, this is what I want to do. So he said no. And I was like, well, I'm doing it anyway. And I was at Tony's private island 3 years later. And when I hired Tony's coach, I went from literally like 100,000 a year to over 800,000 a year just with that coach. And I know how uncomfortable it feels to make an investment. Like I understand. I didn't have money. I understand. But when you make an investment in yourself, now there's a difference. I've gone to New York and bought 4 pairs of designer shoes that I could have bought my mom a new car. Like there's some really stupid decisions I made financially because I had the money, I could do it, but it doesn't mean I should do it, right? But there are financial decisions. Like I just paid $40,000 to be in a group of like-minded people. And of course, my mind is like, oh, is it going to be worth it? You want to get your investment. But being around people like that, they think differently. They act differently. They behave differently. It's a completely different experience. And so, from the person that's listening to this right now, when you're like, oh my gosh, Yvonne, it's hard just to put gas in the car or buy the necessities, the milk, the butter, the bread, right? I totally get that. But what you can do right now, today, that doesn't cost you a dime but your time is pick up a book. Pick up a book. The more you learn, the more you earn. And that book that's sitting right there behind you, Profit First, they can go to the library. You guys, there's so much valuable information out there readily available. And that's all I did. I picked up one book and then the next book and then the next book. And then I found myself sitting in the audience of Tony Robbins events and other events and it just grew. My money grew, my mind grew, and the words you have to stop saying and stop using is, but I don't know how. I can't even imagine that kind of money. You should never say those words because immediately you're just shutting your mind down. How can I imagine living a life like this? How can I imagine having so much money in the bank that I can live off interest? And that's where I'm at now. No one taught me that in my childhood. None of my family still to this day can live like that. But the more you learn, the more you earn. And it's not necessarily how much money you make, it's what you do with the money that you do make.
Sure. I see a lot of times, and I love that you're talking about like the education aspect of this because it really comes down to two things for me. It's the education and the awareness of where you really are, like the awareness of what is going on in your head, right? Because it's subconscious for people to say, I can't imagine, and they don't even realize they're saying it. So having somebody, if you can't hear it for yourself, having somebody who can mirror that back to you, which is what a great coach will do, right? Is just, wait, pause. Did you hear what you just said? And saying it back. All of a sudden, 99% of the time, I feel like just the awareness that you even have the thought is really all you need because then you can start to shift it. But until you're aware of it, you have no clue that you even need to shift it. And then that education piece, like, I'm dealing with my kids are probably, it sounds like the same age as yours and just graduating high school and educating them on how money works in the
Yeah.
system and that you can do amazing things with it if you understand how it works. It's not something to be afraid of. I can't say it enough. You don't have to be afraid. You just have to learn.
Yeah, it's like an icky word for most people. Or I get this a lot. Oh, just because you have so much money, you think you're better than I'm like, no, it's such a staggering mind shift. And the best I can describe it is the higher you climb in consciousness or awareness, the clearer you'll see. If all you're focusing down here is all you can see is the tip of your nose, that's all you're going to see. But if you expand your mind and if you become aware, and how you do that is through journaling, through meditating, through listening to what you're saying. Because if you're not aware of what you're saying, you're definitely not aware of what you're thinking before you're saying it. And that's a practice in its own. And surrounding yourself with people that I've learned the wealthier and the more successful they are, they don't talk about people. They talk about opportunities and creating and giving back and making the world a better place. So if you're hanging around people that sit and talk about other people, those are small minds. You got to expand your mind. And I'm not saying one group is better than the other. Absolutely not. You cannot value the human, but you can expand the human mind and the human potential. So the higher you climb, the more you educate, the more you learn, the clearer you'll see your own blocks. You'll see your own limiting beliefs. You'll see your own narratives. You'll see the patterns. And when I did Tony Robbins' event, we had to move our body because that's your subconscious. It's blocked and stored in your body, your nervous system. Like when you get sick to spend money, that kind of money, or when you're going to the grocery store and you're looking at every tag. And I don't know, I know you're probably going to want to smack me for this, but I've always wanted to be in a place that I could walk into any store anytime and buy whatever I want. And I am. I don't ever have to look at a price tag. I can go out and buy my BMW and write a check for it. I don't ever have to look at anything. And it's not that I'm reckless, but I've positioned myself for several years of not paying myself as a business owner to growing my money to a certain degree, right? Because from my childhood and to calm my nervous system, I need to know that I can always afford groceries. And so now I just had Costco delivery at my door. Like, I mean, what a privilege. Like, well, how awesome is that? And I'm grateful every single time that I make a purchase. I'm so grateful. I don't take any of it for granted. I worked hard and I changed my mindset. And I believe in creating a life that you love, a life by your design. And I know for others, they don't even think twice about having a full pantry. But that was in my body, that was in my nervous system, that scarcity, that lack. And so I knew that I would feel safe if I had enough money in my bank that I could have a full pantry. And so I've just changed my mindset to grow. And now I'm at a different place. I need to climb a little higher to see how I can make the current amount of money I have grow exponentially for generational wealth and to give back and to help so many more people. So I've learned my lesson. I don't care to have more design bags and more designer shoes because I could do so much more good in the world with that money. But it was a lesson I had to learn, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we all have our own lessons. We all have our own ideas, our own feelings of safety and whatever we grew up with, right? Whatever we experienced before the age of 6 or 8 that is still living in our bodies that we need to finish processing. I mean, that is going to look different for every person. There's no right or wrong. You said at the beginning, I was going to smack you. I was like, I would never smack anybody like, and or want to. Like, we all have our own stories. We all have our own journeys. We all have our version, like I said, of safety and what's going to feel good. And for some people, it may not be millions of dollars. And for others, it may be more. We don't know what that's going to feel like, but we can continue working there. And through the healing process, through all of those things that you mentioned, and then having some systems in place as well that can support those and give our systems, our nervous systems, a break sometimes so that we don't have to think about price tags. Like all of those things are possible. So I do want to pull back a little bit and go towards you've sold all of your businesses at this point. So I'm imagining that's like a lot of moving pieces. And I know one of your exit stories was selling to a student. What would you want other med spa owners to know about preparing for a sale of their business?
Yes, it's such a great question. So when I started my business, I had no idea how much they would grow, how much the community would grow, the brand. I really had no idea. Again, you can always connect the dots looking back. And I do believe that our creator 10X is our vision, right? I didn't know what I was possible of. I didn't know what I was capable of. And now that I've done it, I'm like, oh, wow, now let's just test myself and challenge myself. At that time, I didn't know because I'd never started a business. I didn't know anyone in business. As it's evolved, I just made the agreement and the pact to myself I will only sell to my students because I wanted to leave a legacy. So every business I've sold has gone to a student. And they're all my dear friends. They mean so much to me. And one thing, though, Shannon, nobody prepared me for when you sell a med spa or a clinic, yes, you're passing those patients on to the new owner. And so when I sold my first med spa, I had the new owner come in and spend time with me, introducing her to the patients. And it was a beautiful transition. It was a handoff. And I knew she'd be fine. They would all be fine. All the patients still are there with her. But no one prepares you for exiting a community that you've built. And I'm like, these are my people and I love them fiercely. And I can't imagine them not being a part of my life. And so what I'm working on now is actually building a community. So I'm going to take the community I've built and we're going to roll it into my mission, my life's purpose, and love for all humanity. We're going to give back. We're going to have a nonprofit organization. We're going to do a lot of service, a lot of coaching, a lot of mindset. And it's not about me. I may be the leader, the umbrella of this community, but each member of the community gets to spotlight who they are and how they can serve the entire community. So it's like one big community, but then they all have their community. And so they're like satellites of the community. But I'm really on a mission to raise consciousness and to make the world a better place by teaching people how they can live every day so in love with their life. Like we all love the feeling of being in love, do we not? And so if you can look at your life and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so in love with my life. Like, show me how it can get better. Like, really, can it really get this much better? Like, it's always getting better. And it really is just reframing the way you look at things. And what I learned from Tony Robbins was nothing is good or bad, but the meaning you give it, right? Like, I can look back over my life and say, yeah, I've gone through a lot of difficult, challenging things, but look who I am today because of that. And look at the life I'm living today because of those things. So I've had to learn how to reframe and give it a different meaning. And I love life. I love everything about my life. And when you can live from this perspective and this global perspective of I'm the creator, I get to decide how I feel. I get to decide what the meaning of somebody coming in my life with a bad attitude. And I get to decide if that means anything to me. But most importantly, like I can give people grace because everybody has a bad day. And I'm really sorry for whatever they're going through, but I don't own it. I don't accept it. It has nothing to do with me, but I can extend them grace because that's a really uncomfortable place to live from. Right. And so I've really just reframed everything, my thoughts, the meaning I give things, how I feel about things. And I go unbothered. I really go unbothered about anything.
Well, and what you see, you get more of, right? And so, like I
Yeah.
was saying, like you're so in love with your life, show me how it can get better. And it will just
Mhm.
continue to get better. If
Mhm.
that's what you're looking for in life. So, absolutely really
Okay.
love that. Yeah, that was great. Well, our time today has flown, Yvonne. This has been so much fun. And I always like to ask, or at the very end, wrap up with like, what's one thing every wellness business owner you would like them to walk away with from our conversation today? I have a feeling I know where you're going, but I'll let you and see where you go.
Like, it's okay to not know what you're doing. Like, it's okay to admit that you don't know and be like, okay, I'm going to figure it out. Because Marie Forleo says everything is figure outable. You guys, and still to this day, I wrote a book, but I cannot spell. I really struggle spelling. Like, if you see all the social media posts that are misspelled, those ones were mine. But now I can look back and I can kind of laugh that, yeah, I rode this short bus and that may have been like a limiting belief for a long time, but now I embrace it and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is who I am. And I love who I am. And I don't have it all figured out and I don't know it all, but I can love everything from where I stand today. And I can pick up a book and learn it. I can pick up a phone call and call Shannon. I can hire Shannon, teach me more about money. And it's just really identifying your baseline. Where are you? What do you want to get better at? Admit that you don't know it all. Admit that you're not great. And anything I start, I know it's not going to be great, but I literally I take it and I improve it and I improve it and I improve it. And it just becomes like anything else we do every day, right? We get better at it. So, yes, like life is meant to be beautiful, meant to be loved, and your business is meant to be such a fun experience and a project. If it's sucking the life out of you, let's reframe the way we look at it because it's a service. You're serving humanity with what you're offering. So, yeah.
That is very much part of why we do what we do. I mean, people are out there serving people, and I want you to love it. I want you to get paid well for it, all of those things. And so education is just such a huge part of what we do, because when you don't love what you're doing, it shows, and everybody around you knows that. And that's just not a good place to live from. So love what you're doing and do it for all the reasons, right? But money should definitely be part of that. So Yvonne, if somebody is interested in kind of following along with what's next for you as you build this community and things like that, where's the best place for them to go and connect with you?
Yeah, so I'll make the public announcement in October of exactly what this looks like. But you can follow me on Instagram at Yvonne Dellos, and I am at YvonneDellos.com or thebestofyvonne.com.
Awesome. Well, it was so great to have you today, and I look forward to staying in touch and seeing what's next for you.
Yes, thank you, Shannon. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Yvonne. Thanks for listening to Behind the Numbers. If today's conversation resonated with you, subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss a new episode every week. And if you're a health or wellness business owner who's ever wondered what's really going on behind your own numbers, I'd love to talk. Head to fitforprofit.com to learn more or book a complimentary clarity call. We'll see you next week.